We've got a new rumor about a potential Stargate series that was supposed to be announced at San Diego Comic-Con. If you recall, Prime Video, Amazon basically bought MGM for like $8.5 billion a couple years ago, and they planned to reboot Stargate along with a number of the other properties such as RoboCop that they obtained with that purchase of MGM. And so let's get into this rumor here. It comes from the Popcast, and they claimed that Prime Video was planning to announce a Stargate series at San Diego Comic-Con, but ended up canceling the announcement due to the Writers Guild of America and the SAG-AFTRA strike. Nevertheless, they have sources that tell them, sources very close to the project. The big announcement was scheduled July 23rd at Comic-Con during a panel. The plan was to unveil the Stargate roadmap moving forward, starting with a movie and then a limited series. The movie would serve as a pilot bridging the gap between Stargate SG-1, Atlantis, and the new series. Their current plan is to produce a movie as a special two-part event that acts as a pilot for a new series. So if they're bridging that, well, you're probably wondering, like, what were they going to show at San Diego Comic-Con? Well, the Popcast has some information about that. They were actually going to have a teaser video, which would start, quote, with a shot of the Golden Gate Bridge panning down to reveal a Stargate underwater being activated. The teaser wasn't hinting at a specific story, but was intended to build up some hype for the new project. If you recall, that's kind of how Stargate Atlantis ended. Atlantis lands in the Pacific Ocean near the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco. Along with this teaser trailer, they're supposed to have some big names from the Stargate universe, including Amanda Tapping, Michael Shanks, Joe Flanagan, Robert Picardo, David Hewlett, Paul McGillian, Lexa Doig, and Christopher Heyerdahl. So they were planning a big rollout, but it appears a lot of that is kind of up in the air now. It's unclear as to how this is going to lay out because we don't know what's going to go on with the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA strikes. The Popcast says, as a result of the ongoing strike, the water surrounding Stargate are now murky at best. According to our sources, the strike could hit Stargate as well as the RoboCop reboot hard. The timeline will be 100%. The timeline will 100% be shifted, but we are told that there are several people pushing hard to make sure both projects don't end up back on the shelf. So that seems to imply to me that it could indeed be put back on the shelf because of these strikes and that kind of inertia, that momentum being stopped due to the strikes. They also go on and say, we're also being told that as Amazon begins shifting focus from scripted content to non-scripted shows, planning dates will be pushed out since non-scripted neither requires writers or actors. That's where Amazon and other studios will be going. Nothing really new there. Very well planned for that. I mean, David Zaslav is even talking about how they have non-scripted content at Warner Brothers, and they're well positioned for the strike in case if it goes very long. Nevertheless, the Popcast says our insiders say that if the strike isn't over by September, then everything could be delayed until as late as 2027. So this is very far off into the future, or could be very far off into the future. If the strike continues into 2024, the production slate for the following year will be determined, and we'll have to wait until end of the following year to get the ball rolling on new scripted projects like Stargate. So it could be a really long time before this even gets going. And again, because that it could be taking a long time to get going, it might not even actually come out. And that's not really unheard of. There's been tons of basically development hell for this Stargate series at Amazon. There was reportedly Amazon previously declined a script from Brad Wright, one of the original Stargate SG-1 creators, Stargate creators, because it didn't align with this vision that they wanted to do to like bridge, I guess, all of those series and everything, and then the movie and the limited series. And instead, they were kind of in negotiations with the Expanse writers, Mark Fergus, Hawk Ostby, and Naren Shankar. But those negotiations didn't really get anywhere because I guess they were asking for too much money. As far as Amazon was concerned, it was too much for them. They didn't want to pay out that much. So we have a little bit. We've covered that in the past here about this. We have this article here back in January, at the end of January. With how much it's been in production hell. You had Gate World fan site managing editor Darren Sumner discussing this. He says here it's a new beginning for our service as we introduce MGM Plus and its distinctive brand promised to viewers January 15. Promoted right of Amazon's upcoming rebrand of Epix. MGM Plus will deliver on its iconic and beloved studio legacy with a cinematic, sophisticated, and transportive storytelling that audiences love. We are growing our rich library of content comprised of original television series and blockbuster films that celebrate the MGM brand. Interestingly, there wasn't a Stargate announcement as part of that MGM Plus, despite them naming it in the press release that they announced for when they acquired MGM. And this is kind of just going over the press release and the comments made by one of the Amazon executives there. I think Amazon Studios Mike Hopkins right there. I'm not going to really go through that though. But we got this update here from Brad Wright. He was asked, "Hey Brad, is there any news about the possible new Stargate series? Thanks. P.S. Funnily enough, I've only just discovered the show thanks to my boyfriend, and I'm a 90s kid. PPS, Stargate Universe was the best. Please keep the big personal stakes going. It was great." Wright then responded, "Thanks, but you won't hear news from me. MGM did hire me to write a pilot for a new show, but that was just before COVID hit. Timing couldn't have been much worse. All the players have changed in the interim, so it's likely destined to gather dust. Would have been fun, though." So that's coming from Brad Wright. He is admitting that his pilot is, or his script that he had been basically, I guess it is a pilot there, is gathering dust because they've changed plans and all the players had moved around over there at MGM and Amazon. So it looks like, based on this new rumor, that it's going to still be in development hell due to the WGA and the SAG-AFTRA strike. But it is interesting that they are trying to get something made. They just haven't been able to really get the ball rolling because of these kind of extenuating circumstances.
Subscribe for more.